Hey, everybody. In today's episode, it's myself, Benjamin B., and a gentleman by the name of Ian. Listen, in this episode, we're talking about addiction in general, changing substances because you're just uncomfortable in your own skin. How many times have we seen, or maybe you've experienced, going into treatment for an opiate addiction and completing 30 days of treatment only to find yourself drinking beer or smoking weed because you never had an issue with those things? Ian comes on the show to discuss years of him going through these experiences and ultimately what it did for him, which was nothing. What he found was that he was masking unwanted feelings by doing this, and ultimately was in treatment 8 times, and he would leave treatment and pick up just a simple beer, and it always led him back to his drug of choice. So we get into that. He talks about how his mom was his biggest enabler. And a lot more. We talk about pickleball towards the end. We talk about Kratom and why it is terrible. Very, very, very few instances would we be okay with Kratom, but overall, we don't approve. And we talk about Ian's soup reviews. He does soup reviews, and we find those rather interesting. And he also has a thing called the Kratom Task Force. We talk about all that and more. Enjoy the show. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Benjamin B.
What's happening, everyone?
And we have Ian.
How we doing, guys?
First things first, thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use, and thank you for watching on YouTube. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com, and ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message, right, peeps?
That's right, sir.
What's up, Ian?
How we doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Glad to be here.
So Destiny set this up for us a couple weeks ago anyway. And you work in the field?
Yep, over at the Palms Recovery, right down the road from you guys.
Yeah. How far away are you guys?
I'm 4.5 miles, I think, right down Congress.
Oh, it's that close?
Yeah, we're right on the border of like West Palm, Lake Worth.
Pull that mic just a tiny bit closer to you. There you go. Good.
I got to swing by there.
Yeah, we need to go.
Anytime. Come hang with the boys.
So it's PHP. I know. I see you guys on Instagram all the time doing goofy shit.
Yeah.
It's PHP?
PHP, IOP. You know, when I bring someone in, like they're guaranteed 60 days with us.
Good.
You know, help them get back, the job, the whole works.
You should tell everybody your Instagram handle, dude, because it is mighty entertaining.
Vanilla Rice 22 spelled with 1 L. That's actually my AOL screen name from 3rd grade. I'm loyal to it. It's also my bank username. It's literally everything.
Have you ever met Vanilla Ice?
No. So I wanted to make it Vanilla Ice something, but it was already taken. So
Vanilla
went with Rice.
I bet you we can get him on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
He lives right around the corner, doesn't he?
I don't know.
Wellington.
He eats at Kona Bay Cafe all the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, go there and get it set up. Take one for the team, Ben. There's a little backstory.
You'd have to bring up how he got dangled off the balcony by Suge Knight.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Come on, Vanilla Ice. Let's go. What's his real name? I don't even know.
That's a great question.
I don't think anybody. Does he even know his real name? Ice
it's
Baby.
different. I'll have to look it up at this point, but I used to know it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a different name.
Anyways, all right, Ian. So you work at the Palms, PHPIOP, but you don't just stumble into working into treatment. You obviously have a story of your own. Where are you from?
From Northern Virginia, right outside D.C., Alexandria. Grew up on like the Mount Vernon property, like George Washington. Very historic. Just typical suburb kid that started stumbling down the wrong path.
What did your first stumble look like?
I was actually telling somebody this the other day. Like, I knew, like, really early on that, like, I was just whatever I liked, I was very, like, addicted to it. So, like, I was talking about how, it was 5th grade, we were all sitting around, and, like, one of my buddies like, we should start skateboarding. And I go, no. If we skateboard, we're going to smoke weed. And they're all like, no, we won't. Start skateboarding. 3 weeks later, we're smoking Irby Scurby and behind the seesaws out of a bush. Or no, it was a Mountain Dew can. I remember it like it was yesterday, and then it was just took off because I knew I was always like the last one of my friend group to do something because I knew I would do it like full extent.
Yeah. Smoking out of the old Mountain Dew cans.
Yeah.
Did you ever smoke out of a potato?
No, actually, yeah.
Yeah, we'd smoke out of potatoes and apples and
Sure. At
Yeah,
some
the
point,
apple was
yeah.
the apple was the normal.
yeah.
Um,
That couldn't have been good for us, heating up aluminum cans like that. And
No.
But-
I always use the old Big Pen. Where you screw it off and turn it around, jam it up in there,
yeah,
melt it.
yeah. I mean, that's why I don't understand why people were so like up in arms about the Tide Pod issue. Like,
What do you mean? Dude?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't eat Tide Pods. That's terrible. We never did anything like that. We didn't even have Tide Pods, did we?
Probably
I had
not.
that powdered
The
shit.
powdered, yeah.
That you'd get at the old Giant Eagle.
Or the school bathroom.
Huh?
Remember that powder soap at the school bathrooms?
you would drink it?
No.
No, I don't remember powdered.
Y'all didn't have that up north?
No.
Oh, it must be a Florida thing. Everything's powder down here.
Yeah.
Powder soap.
So how old were you when you got clean?
I was 28, so right around 14, 15 is when I started drinking heavier, more and more, like became like an everyday thing. And then like the consequences started happening pretty quickly. I was 18, I got a DUI in the great state of Virginia, sentenced me to 10 hours hard time of AA. So I was introduced to AA early on, and but at 18, I was kind of like, I'm just, smoking Herbie Scurby, drinking Smirnoff Ices, whatever. But I remember I knew that was a place where I could go and get sober. But I was just not now. But I beat my head against the wall for 10 more years. Lived out of my Corolla. You remember Chris Farley living in a van down by the river?
Yeah.
I lived in a Corolla down by the lake for 6 months towards the end, just running a fucking muck. So I really relate to that Chris Farley thing every time.
I went as him as Halloween one year. What was his name? Matt Foley?
Oh yeah.
In the skit.
Did you have the briefcase?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I
you
had
did
the
it
whole
all.
deal. Yeah, glasses, everything. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah, so 28, and I was still kind of skeptical at first. My biggest problem was I wanted to stop doing opiates. By the time I was 21, but I was couldn't imagine a life without drinking for the longest time. And then this time I was all right, I won't do anything for a year. I came down here a bunch and just did treatment, go home. And then I was all right, I'll stay down here for a year. I'll do these sober livings. I'll do what everyone says. And someone kind of got 12 steps. You have nothing to lose. You have a Corolla that's beat. You have nothing in your name. You're going nowhere. Why don't you try these 12 steps? And I was just you know what? I got nothing to lose. And a couple weeks into doing that, I kind of just realized I don't need to drink anymore either. And life slowly got better and better and better.
So when you say after 2 weeks, you kind of, got in the groove, or however you worded it, what was it? What in that first 2 weeks? Well, let me ask you this. Where did you go to treatment?
Treatment Alternatives in Boca Raton. And I was telling them earlier,
That's off Glades Road, right? It was?
off Camino Real.
Okay.
It was huge. So they had the big 200-bed sober living, and then they had a detox, PHP, IOP. With the women's place and the PHP detox, it was 300 plus beds. So Boca back in 2017 was crazy. They're no more, but it still got a lot of friends that I met from back then.
And so was that your first time in treatment?
No, I've been 9 times, and the 8 times prior was always I'm gonna just smoke weed when I get home, or I'm just gonna drink on the weekends, or but it was always I want to stop doing opiates. Every time I went to treatment, I was always leaving something there that I still wanted to do, and not fully surrendering. Besides the 9th time, I gave myself a year, and then within those first couple of weeks, I kind of saw seeing people in meetings, and seeing people that was coming along with me, kind of just pushing me hey, and I was I don't need to do a substance to feel good, because I was on that pink cloud. started feeling good.
How long you been sober now?
July 18th, 2017. So we're almost 7.5 years.
Right on. And no, I like the fact that you mentioned 9 times too, because we get the question all the time, like, how many times is it going to take? Or someone's like, if they're not going to get it the first time, why even try? Or whatever the case is. Like, and I share this all the time, dude. The only thing I did right for a long time is I just didn't die and just kept showing up, like, and trying. And you never know when somebody's going to get this thing. And I think it's really important for our listeners of the loved ones to hear that. Like, dude, not the 9th time. Why the 9th? Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, just never give up, never lose hope.
I do think there's something worth digging in there, that you had this kind of reservation, I guess, in all these. And how many times, and obviously the three of us work in this field, how many times do we see young adults that come in for opiates or fentanyl, heroin, meth, and they don't think they have a problem with alcohol or pot? You know, pot's it's a plant. It's from God, you know, and that's a very difficult mindset to break or influence. And you're a prime example of that. I'm sure people tried telling you or suggesting to you, like, hey, Ian, you tried this 7 other times. What makes you think it's going to work this time? But yet you still wanted to test the waters. What was that like?
So it was actually the first time I went to treatment in like 2012. I was very vocal, like with the whole treatment center, like, I'm just want to stop opiates. I'm going to drink when I leave. And I remember this therapist took me aside and he goes, since that's your way of thinking, don't you think you might be an alcoholic too? And it like blew my mind. I was like, I probably am, but like, I'm not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
But like,
someone said to me once, if you're not an alcoholic, why are you trying so hard to keep it in your life? I'm like, good point. Because someone that's not an alcoholic wouldn't even think about it. They wouldn't be trying to justify or convince themselves or say, yeah, I plan on doing this. They just do it randomly here and there. It's not a thought whatsoever that they're premeditating. Yeah, I'm going to make sure I'm drinking the rest of my life. Like, it doesn't make sense.
I couldn't imagine for the longest time, like not going to the boom boom rooms on the weekends. And it was just
the what?
The boom boom rooms.
What are that? Like the massage parlor?
You ever seen, no, you ever seen Life with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy?
I don't think so.
He calls it Ray's Boom Boom Room. It's all movie about them in prison for life. And like Ray's just like, I'm going to get out of here and open a bar. Go Ray's Boom Boom Room, you know? So I always called bars boom boom rooms.
Oh, okay. Interesting. But when you're going out and you're going into treatment, you're coming out, you're drinking, smoking pot, whatever, going back into treatment. Like, why did it take 8, 9 times for it to sink in? Like, what through that journey? And why I'm asking this is because a lot of family members and loved ones in particular need to have a better understanding of this.
It was all control. I still wanted to have control over it. And the 9th time, I gave up control and I let other people make decisions for me for a few months. Cause I gave up my car. I gave my wallet away. I was just totally like, you guys tell me what to do. Cause like what I've been doing for 28 years has sucked, you know?
Hang on real quick, Ben, was there anybody in your life during these 8 times that kind of enabled that behavior?
Oh, my mom. 100%.
Okay.
She's
Good
well
old
aware
mom.
of it. Mom. Yeah. But in this last time, she was just like, you're cut off, like this, that, and this. Like, I'll help pay for sober living for this first month and like your car. But like, other than that, like, don't ask me for anything. And like, I kind of like resonated with me. Like, I can't swindle my poor mother anymore.
So she was your biggest enabler?
Yes. 100%.
Did you always like go to treatment and then go back home to Virginia to mom's house or what?
Yeah, in those years, like 2012, 2014 in that area. And like I would just like open a can of beer right in front of her and she kind of didn't really know that, like she kind of thought that like that was okay. Like just like, you know, didn't think like I just would go like I need to stop opiates. Like this treatment center is going to cure me for 30 days. I'm going to come back, drink, smoke weed or whatever. And like everyone's like, yeah, that's fine. Like all my friends.
And poor mom's like, oh, Ian, look at you doing so good, not taking opiates.
Yep.
That's kind of like what I was going to touch on, because when you said a second ago that some families don't understand that, like there might be some listeners that are like, duh, it's common sense.
Mm-hmm.
But just to give an example, like here, this was probably 2 years ago. We literally had a client that was in IOP level of care, and mom was in town, I think like down south to Fort Lauderdale, Miami, was like, hey, can I pick my kid up, spend the weekend with them? And this person was doing well. We approved the pass, like, yeah, spend the weekend with mom. Mom literally took him to the bar, got him drinks, got this girl drinks. She comes back a mess. And all of a sudden is relapsing on her drug of choice. And it's like, and we're telling mom, we're like, well, what made you think that was okay? Like to awaken the beast. And they're like, oh, I didn't know. It's just alcohol, a couple drink margaritas on Miami Beach. You know, like people what's common sense to us may not be common sense to some of the folks out there. Like your mom sitting there watching you drink a beer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, like,
Did you know, like, I probably shouldn't be doing this?
Towards the last couple of times, I'm like being around treatment, like I should probably stop everything, but I'm not ready to. Like I just was so stuck in this like stop opiates. I want to find a way to still kind of be a normal functioning alcoholic, which was like never the case. Like if you asked anybody that knew me back then, like I was the worst. I was either getting beat up, crying in the corner, beating somebody up, like passing out. I think I have like 8 drunken publics. Like I was just like the worst drunk ever. Like for 10 years, it was blackout drunk and do opiates all day. Just like on repeat. And like, who can I like screw over to keep this going for the longest time? And every time I went to treatment those times is because I kind of like hit a financial wall or like something.
The rug was pulled out from under you.
Yeah. And then when it really comes down to like, when you're a drug addict or alcoholic, like switching like to a different substance, it's like switching seats on the Titanic. Like you're heading for the iceberg. Whether it's the speed might change, but you're going towards it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
The ship is sinking no
I think-
matter what.
I think it's worth reviewing too, because a lot of people think about like the direct cause, like where, hey, if I smoke weed, it'll lead me back to my drug of choice. I'm always very open about this. I think if I smoked weed, I would not like go back to shooting heroin.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'd probably smoke all day, every day. But beyond that, the indirect cause of it, like if I start smoking weed, I'm going to stop doing all the things that I was doing for my sobriety that are keeping me off my drug of choice. Like, for instance, I'm not going to show up to meetings. I'm not going to be sponsoring guys because I would feel right. Like, hey, I'm going to be stoned while I'm reading the big book with this dude. Like, it just can't be done. And people don't consider that. Like, it takes you out of the thing, all the things that helped you stop to begin with or stay stopped to begin with. And people don't think that part through. Like, who that's sober, doing the right thing, that's the real deal drug addict junkie, going to go hang out with Ian who's smoking weed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then all of a sudden you find yourself with those old people again, the people that do smoke the weed, and it all falls apart slowly or quickly.
I do think it would lead you back to your drug of choice eventually. The thing
thanks,
is,
Tom.
we don't know when. And it's not because it's you. It's just because let's play this through. And this happens a lot. People put together some amount of sobriety time and then decide to smoke weed. You have one of two choices. Either you're A, open about it and you're a hypocrite, or B, you're not open about it. You keep it a secret. You're a hypocrite and you're keeping all this stuff inside.
I'll give you this. You're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, who's a good example of this is Anthony Bourdain, full-blown heroin addict, stopped doing opiates, became a full-blown alcoholic slowly but surely, and then unfortunately killed himself.
Yeah.
And so I always think of him, like, and I tell clients and people in recovery that all the time when they talk about switching seats on the Titanic.
And you're missing something. If you do this and you do what we suggest and you do it correctly, not saying that you have to like do 100% of everything that we say and stuff like that, but if you get it right the majority of the time, you won't want to smoke weed. You won't want to go out and have a beer. Don't get me wrong. I would love to be able to I love the way alcohol makes me feel. I love being drunk. I love I tell you what, if I were to relapse, here's what it would look like. I would start drinking. I would be completely out of my mind. and you would find me at like the darkest, dingiest bar in Palm Beach County, eating chicken wings and watching football. Right? That's what that would look like for me. But in the moment, I would feel good. I would have the euphoria. I would have all the stuff that comes with it. But eventually you want to get to a place in your sobriety where it's risk versus reward. And I have to believe for you, Ian, right now, the reward far outweighs the risk
1,000%
of your sobriety. What's that? What does that look like for you?
Risk versus reward. Yeah, I mean, it's like playing the tape out. Like but I want to say in like the 7.5 years, I've had like maybe like 3 times where it's like a couple seconds where like I actually thought about relapsing. Like, this sounds nice. And like the most recent time was I was in Chicago. One of my best friends I met down here, who actually was the guy that 12-stepped me in sober living back then, and he took back control, started drinking again, but he was a crackhead, but became a full-blown alcoholic. Like I'm talking about, moved back home, ended up going back to his original drug of choice, which had fentanyl in it, overdose, died. But I'm there, and I'm in Chicago, like unfamiliar, and I'm like just looking into this bar, like that like looks great. Like I could go in there right now, get a couple beers, and no one would ever know. You know, like that thought came, and I want to say it was almost like 10 seconds, and then it's like all of that, like all this I put together the last like 7.5 years, it's just been like, could not like imagine like throwing that away, or just like a little feeling of a drink. And it's in the last and I want to even say like the first 3 years of my sobriety, like I lived more than I did the 28 prior years. Like experience, travels, people, like the amount of friends I have is like insane. It's too much almost.
Yeah.
I think people have a hard time letting go of alcohol in particular, because like in your case, you want to stop the opiates. The thing about alcohol, culturally speaking, is I feel like it gives people a temporary sense of belonging. Like the way you just described it, I was like picturing in my head. I'm like, you're in Chicago, you see the people through the bar in the window, and you're like, oh, they look like they're having fun. It looks warm and cozy in there. You know, let me go squeeze in on a bar stool. But the reality, so what I'm getting at is that it's all about that connection, and like drinking alcohol is an easy way to temporarily feel a part of something. You get to know people easier. You have a couple drinks, let's call it what it is, dude. You make a bunch of fair weather friends at the bar real quick, but then all of a sudden that's gone. So it's almost like a quality versus quantity thing as far as the risk versus reward. Like I'd rather have quality relationships in my life today that mean something versus just a bunch of fair weather friends that I drink with that aren't around when I'm not drinking. You know, I'm in a situation right now in my life where it's like, it would be really easy for me to like be like, oh, let me go out to the bar with these people and get to know a bunch of new people, and like it, you know, at the same time, but that would be short lived. Like it's not the quality that I'm looking for in my life today. And I think people that in early recovery, let's call it what it is, they go in feeling lonely. That's probably a lot of what brought them to their knees, that internal, like, I hate myself, I'm all alone. But then they get this fear of like, well, without alcohol, am I going to be able to have relationships? It's almost like an easy way out, so to speak. And I think culturally people have a hard time letting go of that.
That was exactly my thinking for those 10 years. Exactly what you just said.
Like you're missing out.
Yeah. So I want to switch gears. Before we started recording, we were talking about something I thought was pretty comical. The Kratom Task Force.
The few, the proud, the Kratom Task Force.
So Kratom is something that, you know, we discuss every now and again on the podcast, but it's one of those substances that you have like the total anti-Kratom, and then you have the completely pro. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Kratom is an amazing thing. I in particular am anti. I do think that there could be applications in which it makes sense, but very few and far between. What's your thoughts, and what was the birth of the Kratom Task Force?
Well, at first is because like I was working as a tech. and like these kids were getting away with it kind of thing. And like, but what I really noticed was like doing kratom was probably like 3% of like the high you'd get from like heroin. And like these kids would start doing kratom, and then whether it was a couple days or a couple weeks, it was right back to heroin on the streets of Pompano doing crazy stuff.
Some of our listeners might not know what kratom is. Just to throw it out there real quick, it's a tree from Southeast Asia that they grind down into an extract, and it's got like an opiate like high. But in Florida, it kind of blew up in like probably like 2014. You start seeing it in gas stations. Kids in halfway houses would get it. And like you were saying, everyone was doing it because there was no drug test for it back then, but it gives you that opiate-like high, so it kind of just came about like that. And it's still legal here in Florida. I know it's illegal in multiple states in the U.S., but here it's definitely still a thing, alive and thriving, and takes a lot of people back out. But
Yeah,
just so our listeners got an idea what it is.
Yeah, and if any of the listeners don't know about kratom, it's because the Kratom Task Force is doing their job.
Tell us about this Kratom Task Force. You were talking about the badge and all that stuff.
Yeah, it created like a badge, and like I was really just flipping over badges, just like kind of going extra like to do it, and like and it's kind of just like evolved. Like I got T-shirts, like it's a whole thing, and like it's a gag, but there's also like seriousness to it. So it's kind of like bashing it in a way when like so like kids will kind of see like, yeah, that's stupid, like why?
What is your opinions on kratom in general?
I mean, if it was like a way to, like, the funny thing is I actually would use it as a at-home remedy to detox from like heroin and Suboxone and all that stuff. Like, and if you're using it for that, maybe it's got some kind of sort of use, but like I was kind of saying, like, it leads back to heroin. It's kind of just like gives you a little taste and it kind of teases you, and it's a matter of days or weeks, and you want the real thing.
I should add in there, we'll throw Dr. T in there. Dr. T went to a conference a year and a half, 2 years ago. You know Dr. T?
No,
she's our doctor here. She's awesome. But she went to a conference on kratom, or I guess it was covered, and they basically said that the ceiling for kratom, as far as the high, is the equivalent. If you take enough, it's the equivalent to taking 16 milligrams of Suboxone. So to put that in perspective, that's pretty high if you take enough.
Yeah.
Well, I never took Suboxone, so I don't know what that would be like.
Look, if you take it long enough, it gives you the same withdrawals. Like there's people going to detox as we speak right now for kratom use.
Oh yeah, insurance companies started certain that a few years ago. Like it started popping up. Insurance companies at first were like, "What is this?"
But
now it's the norm.
Yeah, somewhere right now in the world, someone is doing an assessment saying, "I've been using kratom too long. I need help."
I think it's definitely becoming a lot more prominent. We have somebody right here that pot and kratom is their drugs of choice, and to some people they could look at that like pot and kratom, like really, and it's like, yeah. The behaviors are all still the same. Again, we say this all the time. The substance doesn't matter, whether it's pot, kratom, alcohol, heroin, fentanyl, meth. It's the behaviors. It's why are we using these substances? So if we look at kratom in general, and I agree with you, in terms of application, and I know a guy, well, I don't know him well. We've talked a couple of times, Chris Bell. He's a very pro-kratom person. And he used kratom to come off of opiates, and he had double hip replacement, a lot of pain and stuff like that. So in that application, I could see it being, fine. Where I totally disagree with kratom and the pro-kratom crowd is when you have any amount of sobriety time underneath your belt, and you find this need to take kratom or go to the kava bar and sip on the stupid little tea it's so dumb anyway. You're searching for something. You're no longer using it to come off of opiates. You're not using it for pain management. You're using it to elicit some sort of feeling because you don't like being inside your own skin. Mm-hmm. And that is the issue. And then, like you said, Ian, that gig only lasts for so long. Now, it could be days, weeks, months, even potentially years, but eventually it will lead you back to your drug of choice. And that's why, and I there are people out there that obviously could defy the norms, but the vast majority, you're going back to your drug of choice. That's why I said, Ben, if you start smoking the devil's lettuce, you're going to go back to heroin.
Kratom would definitely bring me back to heroin. 100%. It's the same receptors. And I want to throw it out there too. Just in the last year, at least what I've noticed, the first lawsuits are coming out. Have you seen that on like social media versus companies distributing Kratom because they're not putting on their label how addictive it is. So like these companies are starting to get sued now for the addictive properties that they're not warning people about. Because I don't know about you. Maybe it's probably on your feed if you got this Kratom task force deal going on. But like, dude, I get ads for Kratom all the time on my social media. And people can be caught off guard because it's like safe alternative to alcohol or relax at night and have a mellow mood. Like it. And
yeah, they have all different kinds, like mango, like all sorts of stuff. Like,
but they advertise it like it's drinking chai tea at night, you know, or sleepy time tea, dude.
Yeah. Like here, chamomile.
Yeah. Well, I think it was used in China for the mine workers that would be doing opium the whole time, and then for them to detox is like how it was like originated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
History.
Freaking China. Go figure. Now that's over here. So you've been sober now 7.5 years. You obviously work in the field. What's been some of the biggest like takeaways in your sobriety? Like what keeps you going? What motivates you to stay sober?
I mean, like life. Like I should not be alive. Like the amount of overdoses and stuff like that. Like it's given me like such an appreciation. Like we only get like one shot at this kind of thing. So like I want to be able to enjoy life. And I like drinking and doing drugs for me. Like it was never really fun. Like maybe really early on. So it's more of just like what keeps me going and like the stuff I do to stay sober. It's really just to enjoy life, and it's great.
I'll say this too, like, and this is my perception. It looks like you enjoy life, like, and that's good for people to see, especially being that you work in the field. Like, dude, if recovery don't look fun, people aren't doing it. They need guys like you that are doing these dances on TikTok and whatnot to be like, dude, this guy ain't even drunk and he's dancing on TikTok, bro. Like. It makes it look attractive. It makes it look fun. We're not a glum lot, as they would say, you know, and that's so important because I'll call it what it is, man. Especially as young guys, recovery has to look cool. It just, I tell parents that all the time. You can't send them to like some 80-year-old man with a cane, like, read this dusty big book, boy.
And it's crazy that like I'm the one that like does this kind of stuff because like way back when I used to like lie to my friends when I was like going to treatment because I was like ashamed, kind of just like this is embarrassing. I'm trying to help myself, but like it was kind of like the stigma of like getting help, but like now I'm like the complete opposite. And it was honestly before I got sober, I was like doing some gypsy stuff like with these weird spiritual ketamine people, and like I had my first spiritual experience, and like it kind of just like hit me, like I stopped caring what others think, and that was like the first like path to like get me sober. It was kind of like, you know, like letting go of like such a control, because like when you really think about it, like when people are thinking about another person, maybe 15 seconds and they move on, and we spend so much time, like hours, like what are they gonna think of me, like, and it's just that 15 seconds, they move on. What are they doing? Thinking about themselves.
Like if you go back to alcohol or any drug, dude, opiates, like when I was doing sales on opiates, dude, like I didn't care what I said or what came out of my mouth.
Doing what? Sales?
Yeah. Like selling gym memberships, selling personal training.
I was like,
you got like the gift of gab.
Are you a pharmacist?
Yeah, no. But it's like you temporarily don't care what people think about you. Like with all drugs and alcohol, like while you're high, let's use being drunk as an example. You can act like a jackass and not care. However, when you wake up the next day and you're like mortified, like, oh my God, what I did last night was so embarrassing. It's only that temporary. So like, dude, that's always going to be there. Why not just let it go? Like you're saying, I love that, dude. Like, doing your best not to care what people think. which is really hard to do, dude. Like, I'll throw it out there. I do care what people think. I'm not afraid to admit it.
Well, it's
You know?
15 seconds they're thinking about you. Tops.
Yeah.
Back to themselves.
Yep. Fact.
When you really think about it that way, it's easier and easier to just let go of control of that kind of situation in your head.
So do you foresee yourself staying in Florida? You heading back to Virginia? What are you doing?
Virginia, no. Yeah, I mean, like I get like job offers to leave and do this, but it's like I love it down here. It's like a third world country in a fun way, you know?
What? What do you mean?
Florida?
Yeah.
It's chaos, but I love it. It's so exciting. There's always stuff going on.
Okay.
Home
Like
of the Florida man.
Like I saw like a woman yesterday get like thrown off the bus and like arrested, and she was like yelling crazy. I was like right in front of her. She was like yelling like a different language I don't even think was a real language she was yelling, but she was yelling.
Where was this?
Congress and 10th. Right by the office. Exciting
makes sense.
Stuff.
Yeah, that's
Exciting stuff.
Lake Worth.
Lake Worth. That's where I live. Lake Worth.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, Lake
actually,
Worth.
technically now I'm in Boynton.
Lake Worth is
Yeah.
a third world country. Lake Worth is awful.
I love Lake Worth.
No, it's on the up and up. They're like redoing the Ave slowly but surely.
I used to live off 6th and J Street. And that was like, I bought a brand new Tacoma, and literally 3 days after I bought it, my windows got shot out. So I wasn't there much longer. And then there was a guy that they found murdered behind the Checkers. He was chopped up in pieces and thrown in the dumpster.
Right there on Federal.
Or the Checkers in Dixie. Yeah.
In 6, yeah.
Yeah.
Chopped up in pieces.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was it's a matter of fact, it was a kid that was he was down here for treatment. This goes back like 8 years, 10 years ago, maybe longer. And supposedly he got involved in one of the like Haitian gangs,
Yep.
and they don't mess around.
No, dude.
And he,
Yeah.
I remember that being on the news.
yeah, it was on the
The
news.
cartel's even scared of them.
Yeah, the Haitian gangs are,
Yeah.
They don't care what other people think either.
no.
You know, I watched this thing on National Geographic last night. So we're probably transitioned from the recovery stuff.
Well,
now.
wait a minute. Don't be afraid to send your kid down here for treatment.
Oh yeah, good disclaimer.
No. It's,
You
Yeah,
gotta,
no.
like, dude, we know where to go, where not to go. It's pretty obvious. Like, hey, I shouldn't go that direction. Then let's call it what it. We're in Palm Beach County, like Mar-a-Lago's here, dude. Like it.
No, it's that, and again, that
Really?
was it. It was a completely different world back then. That was, I mean, we're talking 2012.
No, I like to say like the Florida sun heals all. When I tell people, it really is just like a different vibe down here. It's like you were saying. Like, am I ever gonna leave? Like, I don't see myself ever doing that.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I mean, I would leave. I definitely would leave. The only reason I'm still here is because I have roots here now. You know, married, children, obviously business and stuff like that. But eventually I would like to get out of here. Not because I don't like Florida, but because, you know, there's other places to go, you know?
Is there?
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to go out west. I'd love to live out west somewhere, not California, of course. But maybe like, I don't know.
Sedona? You ever been to Sedona?
No,
You into yoga?
no.
Okay. Don't go to Sedona.
No, I did yoga like twice, actually. No, I'm not into yoga. Look at me. Do I look like I'm into
You
yoga?
could be.
Yeah, maybe.
Namaste.
Texas is where I
Texas.
really want to go.
Yeah, I see all these ads like for like the property in Texas and houses. I'm like, oh my God.
That's a
like,
bunch of crap. There's no way that's real. You get like a 7,000 square foot house for 350 grand brand new. I don't buy it one bit. But anyways, I watched this documentary last night on YouTube from National Geographic, and it was called Assassins, and it was all about like hitmen. And this lady, she's a National Geographic reporter, she goes into South Africa, and it's a huge issue in South Africa, hitmen.
Oh yeah.
And the reason is, in South Africa, one of their biggest industries is taxi services. So they transport around 10 million taxi, what would you call this? Patrons, yeah. People, and at any given time, at any given day, 10 million taxi services are taking place. But there's all these taxi services, and they're all fighting because it's a very poor, in these poor parts of town. The heads of these taxi services hire hitmen to go kill other people that like run these taxi services and stuff like that. And so this guy literally had like 15 armed guards with him while he was talking with this lady, and a huge issue. There was, I think they said like 3,000 or 6,000 assassinations in any given year. And a lot of it stems from the taxi services and stuff. It's crazy, dude.
Where is Uber in all of this?
That's
Uber?
what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering. I'm sitting there watching this. I'm thinking, why doesn't just Uber go down there in some capacity? But evidently Uber is not allowed. But it's nuts. You should check it out. National Geographic Assassins or whatever.
I had a part of my life. There was a phase of my life where I had a lot of involvement with South Africans.
What?
So the restaurant that I was a bartender at, there was this group that came over, and they lived in, I think, Admiral's Cove or Jonathan's Landing or something, as like, I don't know, they were waiters there. They did all the service stuff, but they would house them, and then they would also get side jobs, which is why they ended up at the bar that I was working at. But like a whole group of South Africans, we went down to Ultra Music Festival together. They're wild, bro.
Yeah.
Wild. They party hard.
Ian, what's something interesting about you that we don't know?
I feel like that's like a ultimate rehab question I would get asked in group. Something interesting about me. You don't know. I'm big into pickleball. Love pickleball.
Oh, that's like the new sport. Taking.
It's so. Is it big everywhere else or just in South Florida? Because
No, it's big everywhere. It's huge everywhere. And like I was saying earlier, like how like when I was a kid, like I would get like addicted to whatever it is. And like when I first got down here, it was fishing. Then it was golf. And then the last 2 years, it's pickleball. Like I had to dial it back. It was like an everyday thing. So like when I would get home, I'd get yelled at a lot. So I dialed it back down to maybe like 3 or 4 days a week. I was literally playing at 7 a.m. this morning. I'm a member at this nice indoor place, and I showered and I came right here. I was playing for 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours?
Yeah, pickling away.
That's got to be a good workout.
Oh, yeah. It's great on the, like, you sweat a lot because, like, your brain is moving so quickly because the ball's, like, going so quick. Like, and I played tennis growing up, and, like, when I started playing pickleball, I was like, why am I sweating so much more than I ever would playing tennis? And it's the brain.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
I've never played.
Really?
I've only played twice, and we didn't know what the hell we were doing, so we just kind of like stood there hitting the ball back and forth.
Bro, I ain't built for pickleball. I can tell you.
Well, there's been a lot of like treatment center, like pickleball events. Like we were talking about Reprieve.
Tons.
They had one. You want to know who won it?
You did?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah. And then they just had another one. I got second place.
Who beat you?
Justin Greenberg. He brought this lovely lady, Marissa, who was a D1 tennis player who just like had her way with me.
Wow.
But Justin, who was over at Legacy, who's actually normally play with in like these tournaments, and it's we're out there getting so competitive to win like a $3 medal and stand up on a little wooden thing, but we get like so into it. Like we have like a mental health league too. Like a lot of us like in like the treatment center that work in treatment centers are all in like group chats. We're all like bickering. It gets a little crazy sometimes.
I feel kind of left out, yeah, because like obviously we're friends with all these people that work in the industry on Facebook and Instagram, and there's all this pickleball stuff going on. I'm
well,
like,
there's a new wave
I'm
of people that
pickleball.
just started, but like they're kind of like 2 years behind me. So I'm like, I don't really want to play with you, but like, so you can join them. There's a big group of them right now.
I can't just jump to the elite with you. Come on, man.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out, Ben. Maybe there's some sort of I don't know, Flyland's putting it on, or is there some sort of event going on not too long from now? Is it maybe it's volleyball?
No, it's Intrepid just had one.
I think there's
It was a charity event for like a scholarship foundation thing. It was really cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we don't go to any of that stuff, Ben. We're like terrible.
Well, they're all on the weekend.
Destiny
Yeah.
was there. She was there.
Yeah,
Which
that's
one?
good.
Mm. Destiny was there.
No,
Oh,
but
at
where?
the Intrepid one. the charity event.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and one other something you guys don't know about me, I rate soups.
Like one bite pizza reviews?
Yes. Well, I do a little more, you know. I'm a bit, and I say big soup guy, restaurant rating. I started as a joke, and now I'm like thousands of dollars into soups I didn't really want, but I got to rate them, you know?
Wait. Is this, where do we find this?
On Vanilla Rice 22, spelled with one L. And Facebook. Yeah, I just did one last night at some Thai place on Delray Ave. It was a 4.7. It was terrible. Crab
So
soup.
where
Crab
is the
miso
good
soup.
soup?
Where's the good soup? Best soup I had was at Sail Loft in Boston, Massachusetts. Clam chowder. It was a 9.5.
There's a restaurant somewhere in Boynton Beach. I don't know.
There's a soupery?
It's,
Green Acres.
I don't know. They do soup and sandwiches.
There's two. It's called Two Chef Soupery.
That one, Two Chefs.
Oh my, they're top tier.
Yes, I had it one time years ago, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm not a soup guy. That's the last thing I would order anywhere, especially in South Florida.
That's what I was
Like,
just
it's
thinking, dude.
85 degrees, and you're eating freaking
Yeah, you gotta do
vegetable
it.
soup.
You gotta do it.
Where's the
There's-
best lobster bisque around here?
Oh, I just had a really good one. NYY is pretty good. They have a pretty good one.
Is that here?
Yeah, that's at the Seminole Coconut Creek Casino. The nice steakhouse inside.
Okay. NYY.
Yeah, they got it. They got a good lobster bisque, and there's that's more you want to be up north for to get a real authentic one.
I'm a Campbell's tomato soup guy. Grilled cheese, you know.
Chunky, remember those Chunky commercials with Donovan McNabb?
Yeah.
the other day?
Yeah. All right, we're totally off the rails here. Ian, I appreciate you coming on, man. Just again, another testament of what sobriety can do for you. A guy totally turned his life around over the course of 7.5 years and impacting the community. So Vanilla Rice 22 with one L.
That's it.
Yeah, soup reviews and sobriety stuff and all
Pickleball.
that. Yeah, pickleball. So give him a follow. Ben, any final thoughts?
Nah, man, it was fun, dude. It was fun. I love doing this because we see each other out and about, but there's a ton of people there. But like actually getting to sit down and have a conversation with people,
Yeah.
on this level, dude, it's always cool.
Anything you want to shout out? You want to do the poems?
No, oh yeah, you know, give us a follow, watch us dance around at Palms Recovery, having a blast. And I'm really grateful you guys had me. I had such a blast here today.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. All right, that is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.